We're excited to have today author Laura Nowlin with us to sign copies of her new book, If Only I Had Told Her, just published by Source Books. Her previous book, If He Had Been With Me, is a New York Times bestseller and a fan favorite. So Laura Nowlin is the author of the #1 New York Times bestselling TikTok sensation, If He Had Been With Me, and This Song Is Not For You. She holds a BA in English with an emphasis in creative writing from Missouri University. Laura lives in St. Louis with her family. How are you doing today, Laura?
I am doing really great. I think I'm at hour 23 in New York.
If Only I Had Told Her is related to If He Had Been With Me, where Finn is in love with Autumn, but is also in a relationship with Sylvie. What inspired you to create such a nuanced situation, and how do the two novels relate to each other?
Well, in terms of how they relate to each other, I've always thought of it as a companion more than a sequel, because it starts with the point of view from Finn, and then we move on to the other characters after the end of Finn's story. And so we get a little bit of the future past the first book, but really it's also a deep exploration of the first book. It's a surprisingly common dynamic amongst teenagers that I hear all the time, that you're in a relationship with one person because it's convenience, but it's not quite right. It's just the person you want to be with really isn't another fan group and things like that. And I've had a lot of teenagers come up to me and say, yes, there's something like that going on with me. Also, lots of grew apart from a childhood friend that I'm in love with, things like
The book is told from 3 different perspectives. I think you've kind of started to answer that question. These perspectives are Autumn, Finn, and Jack. Why did you choose to alternate the points of view, and was it challenging to keep them distinct?
I started writing Finn's point of view in secret and didn't think anything was going to come of it. I just listened to the audiobook for If He Had Been With Me, and I'd suddenly felt like Finn was back alive in my head, and I kept it a secret. And then around 100 pages, I was like, oh no, this is a book. I need to tell my agent. But I knew I was coming to the end of Finn's story, and I was going to have to round out this book somehow. Autumn's grief over Finney would have been, in the early days, too much for me to be able to handle, and so I selected Jack as someone who was close to Finn, so the reader could grieve with them, but he would be more able to articulate his feelings than Autumn. But it was still quite a struggle, and I'm really proud of the results, and I am shocked and pleased every time someone says, one of my favorite sections really was Jack, which surprised me, since it was such a fight.
You also mentioned mental health is a prominent theme in the book. Is there anything you hope readers to take away from the story regarding mental health?
I guess the commonness of it. It looks different for different people. And If You've Been With Me, Autumn talks about the way her depression manifests with waking up early and not being able to go to sleep. And when I was first diagnosed, that was shocking to me, when I was like, wait, that's a symptom of that. With the second book especially, I hope people understand how complicated grief is, and how it doesn't just get better. It kind of circles and gets bigger and smaller and things like that. I hope I did a good job predicting grief.
Great. The book also deals with themes of love, loss, and fate. Do you believe in fated relationships? And do you have any theories about them?
I do believe in fated relationships. My theories on them shift constantly. I believe in soulmates. I believe we have more than one soulmate and different kinds of soulmates. There's artistic soulmates, romantic soulmates, friendship soulmates, and things like that. As for the whole cosmos of how do we all get together, did we know each other previously, I don't know. I just feel it.
Cool. Autumn is a writer who is struggling to find her voice. What advice would you give to aspiring writers who are struggling to tell their own stories?
Don't save anything for later. If you've come up with the idea, you're good enough to write it, and that will clear space in your brain for you to come up with something even better. And you have to keep writing in order to surprise yourself. If you say, I can't go back, I'm done here, I can't, just keep going, you'll surprise yourself.
And now those are the main questions. We'd like to know if you could read a section from If Only I Had Told Her.
Yeah. Autumn is a terror to sleep beside. She talks, kicks, steals the covers, uses you as a pillow. The stories I could tell if I had anyone to tell them to. Autumn is uncharacteristically embarrassed about her nocturnal chaos, though, and it's one of her eccentricities for which she will not tolerate a bit of teasing. Our mothers, the mothers, as Autumn started calling them when we were young, have their own tales of Autumn's nighttime calamities, and the look that she gives them has been enough to stop me from sharing my childhood memories of her violent, restless sleepovers. This summer, I discovered just how much she hasn't changed. The other day, she fell asleep watching me play video games. I had finally made a specific time jump when she flung her arm onto my lap, causing my guy to fall to his death. I gently lifted her hand off me and scooted over a few inches, but not too far. I didn't tell her about it when she woke up. She would say something about going back home when she starts to feel tired, and I'd rather give away all my games than lose a minute of whatever has been happening between us since Jamie broke up with her. I made sure to insert myself between Autumn and Jack last night for this very reason. It was clear we were crashing at my house, and I felt it was my duty to be the one to take the blows. I have to admit, I'd hoped for something like this. It was her fingers twitching against my ribs that first woke me. Aunt Claire is right. Autumn snores now. She didn't when we were children. I'd believed Autumn when, again and again, she'd insisted that her mother was only joking. But here we are in this blanket tent I made for her, her head under the crook of my arm. She's on her side, curled in a tight ball, snoring, though not loudly. Her breath comes in hot, short puffs. After Jack fell asleep last night, she and I stayed up talking for a while. Autumn was drifting, but I hadn't wanted to give her up yet, so I kept her talking until she said, "Hush, Finny, I need to focus on sleeping." I turned my face and, in the darkness, saw her closed eyes, her gentle breathing. "You're sleeping?" She frowned. "No, can't you see me with the broom? It's so messy in here." "Where are you?" I asked. "Oh, you know, in the room, in between." "Between what?" "Huh? The room in between what, Autumn?" "Pretend and reality. Help me, it's so messy." "Why is it messy?" I asked, but she didn't answer me. I went to sleep much like I am now, on my back, staring at the quilt above us. I remember stretching my arm above my head, vaguely aware of the way she was twitching and mumbling a few inches away from me, presumably cleaning the space between this world and the next. We weren't touching, but it felt like the atoms between us were warm with my love for her. Later on in the night, I woke up when she smacked my face. I pushed her hand away and turned my head towards her. She was close, but not touching me, the covers bunched in her other fist, the hand that clocked me resting between us. I made myself look away and close my eyes, go back to sleep. But now, this is heaven. Her forehead pressed into me, her head under my arm, and my hand on her shoulder. We found each other by instinct. Even if I was half asleep, I never would have done this knowingly. I wouldn't know if she was okay with it. I don't know it now either, but I'm unable to move. My penis, based on very minimal evidence, has decided that today is going to be the greatest day of both our lives. I understand its enthusiasm, but it's sadly, vastly overestimating the situation. If I move, Autumn will wake up. If Autumn wakes up, she'll see my body's assumption. This is what I get for putting myself in this position again. Not that I've ever been in this exact position with Autumn, but like I said, the tales I could tell. The toilet flushes. I hadn't wondered where my other best friend had gone off to. I'm not going to be able to keep a brave face with Jack. I don't think he'll let me this time. He's always known I was still in love with Autumn after all these years, in spite of my being mostly happy with Sylvie. He let it slide all through high school, but he's not going to let me pretend anymore.
And finally, this may be tougher. Can you give us a quick pitch, and you can ham it up for your newest book?
Told through 3 different perspectives, Finn, Jack, and Autumn's If Only I Had Told Her is a love story brimming with truth, tragedy, and the unexpected bonds that tie us.
Okay.
I just read that off the bottom of the thing, and it
Thank you,
suggested
Laura
that.
Nowlin. Thank you very much.